Good evening, everybody. I'm Dipanjan Ghosh. Today, I want to discuss a chapter that is plant and animate tissue. I think all of you know about tissue, and a tissue is what? A tissue is a group of similar cells performing a specific function. And if we go to the relationship between tissue organ system and organisms, then we see how do the separate tissues together contributing to a specific functions. So tissue aggregate and conform an organ, and that organ systems together constitute an organisms. Such as in case of plant, if we see, then we can find out plant contain the root system and shoot system. And plant tissue are basically of two types. That is the meristematic tissue, that is the dividing tissue, which can multiply and produce more new cells, and the permanent tissue, that is the non-dividing tissue. And meristematic tissue, basically we found that meristematic tissue to the growing parts of the plant, growing points of the plant, such as tip of roots, stems, and branches. So tip of root, tip of stem, and tip of branches. Okay, and if we just see some chief characteristics of some meristematic tissue, then we see they are basically the cells are small, they are basically cubical, and their CY is thin. Basically, we can find CY in case of plant cells, but CY is absent in case of animal cell, we know, and say membrane is present in case of animal cell. So in case of meristematic tissue, CY is thin and nuclei are large. And we see in case of meristematic tissue, there is no intervening gap between two consecutive cells. And they have been classified into that meristematic tissue can be classified into two category. One is the apical meristem and other is the lateral meristem. And permanent tissues are made up of cells which have lost their ability to divide, and we know basically they take a permanent shape, and we know they may be living or may be dead. And on the basis of functions they performed, on the basis of that they have classified into protective, supporting, and conducting. Protective tissue, basically epidermis of leaves, which secretes waxy water proof material. Basically protective tissue gives some protection, some mechanical support to the tissue, and it will basically we found it on the surface of root, stems, and leaves. And supporting tissues are basically are of several types. Basically they are the, we know the parenchyma, parenchyma, and sclerenchyma are included within supporting tissue. And in case of parenchyma and sclerenchyma is very important, you know. Basically they contain the large thin ovi, an ovoid circular shaped. They contain a single large vacuole within them, and basically they are capable to storage food, or for example potatoes, and provide temporary support to plant. And in case of parenchyma, we know basically cells are elongated, and if we do the longitudinal section and transverse sections, cross sections of parenchyma, then we can find out that their cell is thickened, and the tissue heads to the support part of the plant. Sclerenchyma basically composed of young narrow cells, and develop very thick wires. And we know basically fibers and stones. Whenever we have come to that aspect, basically all of you have to keep remember the above three categories, that is the parenchyma, parenchyma, and sclerenchyma. These three types are basically are grouped as a simple tissue, because each made up of a one type of cell, as each made up of parenchyma, parenchyma, and sclerenchyma are made up of only one type of cell, so that's why they have named the simple tissue. And fibers and stones are very important from here. We know the ropes, mats, and certain textiles are made up of plant fibers, plant fibers. In case of skin chyma, I have discussed it. And the hard why not says or the gritty masses in the skin and the pipe of pears are made up of skin chyma says. And here known as stone says. So from skin chyma, the fibers and stones parts are very important. But what I want to mention, the most important part is the conducting tissue, basically called the vascular tissue, because they are the capability to transport water. We know the conducting tissue in case of human, the conductions happen through water also, the transportation occur. But here the vascular tissue, that is the xylem and phloem, plays a very pivotal role for the conduction, for the transportation of water. Mm, and to reach that particular water and food, not only water but also food, to different parts of the plant. So basically, we know the xylem and phloem are two types of conducting tissue. And in case of xylem, we know xylem contain four types of cells. And but you have, all of you have to keep remember, whenever that xylem is become wider, then that wider xylem tissue forms the wood. And then that wider xylem do not participate in transport. But that wider xylem helps us to determine the age of a tree by counting the annual rings, which actually are the xylem rings. So here I have mentioned you one topic. So xylem and phloem are the main vascular bundle, main conducting tissue. Basically, they transport water. But whenever the xylem become old, then they will come from the wood, forms the wood, and does not participate in the transport. And but it helps us to determine the age of a plant uh, by counting the xylem rings. And that xylem tissue consists of tracheids uh, and vessels, basically vessels which are tracheary elements, and xylem parenchyma and xylem fibers. And tracheids are basically, you know, the elongated dead cells, and they are basically highly ignified. They contain highly ignified cell walls, and they provide mechanical support, basically. And trachea are basically long tube-like structure, and they are basically helps for the transportation of water, and they are quite hard and ignified also, and transverse wise get dissolved and make a continuous water pipe. And xylem parenchyma consists of living parenchyma coiled associated with the xylem, and this says have the storage of food and also help in the conductions of water and minerals. Okay, xylem parenchyma. And xylem fibers made up of, so basically you have to keep remember carefully enough, xylem parenchyma are parenchymatous in nature. And parenchyma, in case of parenchyma are basically responsible for the storage of food and provides the uh, provide some temporary support to the plant. So as xylem parenchyma are parenchymatous in nature, so the parenchymatous functions will be found in xylem parenchyma. And in case of xylem fiber, whenever I have come to that aspect xylem fiber, then that fiber basically are skin chyma in nature. So so they also provide mechanical support to the plant. Okay, and made up of xylem fibers are made up of dead skin chyma. And whenever we come to the phloem cells are a passage, provide a passage for the downward movement of food manufactured in the leaves. The foods which is basically manufactured to the leaves, that food is actually transported. The downward the movement of food manufactured in the leaves to the various parts of the plants is actually performed by the help of phloem cells. And the phloem tissue consists of sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem parenchyma cells, and phloem fibers. And if we look forward the structure, then we can find out sieve tubes and companion cells. Sieve tubes are tube-like structure, and they contain the different sepates are also present here. They are scattered. They are scattered. They are and sieve cells is attached to the basically to the companion cell. And sieve tubes basically, as the sieve plates are perforated, they help in the transportation of of food from leaves to storage organs. Um, and phloem parenchyma, and basically companionship also help into the to the associations with the sieve tube. And phloem parenchyma is a parenchymatous tissue. Already I have mentioned, just like giant parenchyma, and many concerned with the storage of starch, fat, and other organic food material. So if we classify it, if we do a summary of a plant tissue, then the plant tissue are meristematic and permanent, and that permanent tissue have been classified into protective, supportive, and conductive part, and that supportive part is actually classified into parenchyma, choenchyma, and sclerenchyma, and that conducting complex, that is the vascular tissue, have been classified into xylem and phloem. So this is all about plant tissue, and next I will discuss about the animal tissue. Thank you.